Hello everyone, my name is Luke from the Earth to Loot gaming community, and welcome to my tutorial on how to create a Rust server with plugins. This tutorial is slightly more advanced than your usual Rust server creation tutorial, really only because of the batch file that I've created, which will keep your server up to date both for Rust and Oxide each time it restarts. So pay close attention, because here we go.
Here we go.
First things first, create a folder for your server files wherever you intend your server to permanently stay. I'm going to simply do this right in my C drive for the sake of simplicity. A lot of independent dedicated servers tend to put their server files here. Name this folder Rust Server, like so. Next, create another folder alongside it in the same directory and name it SteamCMD. Then, go ahead and open your internet browser. In this case, I will be using Google Chrome. Next, go to the Valve Developer Community Wiki. Links are provided in the description below. Then, go ahead and scroll down until you see this link for SteamCMD, also provided in the description below. Go ahead and download that, and you'll notice that it says .zip at the end of this. You're going to need some sort of compressed file extractor, such as WinZip or WinRAR, to unpack this file correctly. Most people already have these types of programs on their computer and can just simply open it by double-clicking it. Once you've opened steamcmd.zip, simply drag and drop its contents into the steamcmd folder you created earlier. Go ahead and run this file. It will generate the appropriate files for you to install a Steam server. Once it's done, you can simply type quit and it will close the window. Next, we're going to get a program called wget. This is a program that will help support the auto-update feature included in the batch file we'll be creating later. Without it, I cannot promise this tutorial will benefit you fully, so please make sure you don't skip anything in this video. The link for this page is provided in the description below. Scroll down until you see Complete Package Except Sources and click Setup. It will then bring you to a SourceForge page, which will eventually bring up your download. Go ahead and start the install for the program. Make sure you install it in C, Program Files, 86, unless you know exactly what you're doing. Download both binaries and documentation. And make sure this file path is exactly as written in default. Once that's done, click Finish. You're also going to want to update the exe file for it to version 1.19.4. I've only found this available on this website. Thankfully, it is a secure website, and they do let you know that your antivirus tools may recognize it as potentially dangerous. I've tested this, I've checked it. It is not a dangerous or malicious file. It's perfectly safe, at least from my investigation of it, and it works perfectly. All you need is wget.exe. You don't need the zip for it. You can get the 64-bit or the 32-bit. I prefer the 64-bit since I run a 64-bit operating system. So download that, and it should show up at the bottom left. Now you don't need to run this file, however, go ahead and open it up in your downloads folder so you see it like this. Next, you want to navigate to your C drive, Program Files, and go to GNU Win32. Inside you'll see a few folders. Open up bin, and you'll notice there's a wget.exe right in there. drag and drop this one over it, and replace the file in the destination. If you have UAC on, it'll ask you to continue, skip, or cancel. Obviously, we're going to continue. Now you can close these two windows. For the same reason as stated previously, we will also be getting a program called 7-zip. To get to this page, the link is in the description below. Most computers are going to recommend you download the 64-bit version according to your specs. If you're not sure, just download the 32-bit version and it should work. Go ahead and run the install for this. Keep the destination exactly where it is. Go ahead and close that once it's finished. Next, open up the Rust server folder we created earlier. Right-click anywhere in the blank area, go to New, and create a text document. Name this _start-server. Change txt to BAT. This will be your batch file to start the server. Right-click that and open it in a text document. I prefer Notepad++ and will provide a link for this down below. Once opened, paste the text that I provided below in the description. It should look something like this. Everything you see here is set up for this computer and this tutorial. Feel free to change certain things as we go along. Make sure that this destination matches the same destination as your steamcmd.exe located here. You can check this by clicking at the top in the address bar, copying it, and then pasting it right there. Don't forget the slash. Same goes for your Rust server folder here. This is where you want the files to install. wget is going to be pulled from your program files folder as we did earlier. This will pull the latest version of Oxide from GitHub provided by Wolf, one of the developers of Oxide. Oxide is an extension of Rust that allows people to develop and run plugins on their Rust server. Make sure the output document is the same as this right here. This will put the Oxide Rust temporary zip file in your Rust server folder. But as you can see, there's a path there we haven't created yet. So let's go there, right-click the blank space in your Rust server folder, and create a folder called Downloaded. Now, this path makes sense. Next, 7-zip will pull the zip file and extract it into the destination listed here. It will then delete the Oxide zip from the downloaded folder to make sure each time you run this file, it downloads a fresh version of Oxide. Make sure your server port is 28015 unless you know what you're doing. Also make sure your Archon port is 28016 unless you know what you're doing. These ports will need to be opened up in your router if you have a router with a firewall. That's another tutorial for another time. If you're not sure how to do this, please just look up how online or ask your service provider. You can change the server's tick rate, as well as many other options such as max player, its save intervals, header images, and description. Make sure you put a password for your Archon. For this example, I will simply do Michael Jackson's ABC 123 from the Jackson 5. That's easy to remember. But make sure your Archon password is not easy to remember. You want this to be as complex as possible, so no one can take control of your server. You can also change the server URL here when someone clicks on your server banner in the server list. This will be the name of your server. I have it already set to my Rust server, but please change this to whatever you like. I recommend starting your server at 50 max players. Most dedicated servers can reach up to about 100, but since we're just starting off, let's go with 50. Now the server world size and server seed need to be set. So let's go to the Rust.io gallery for maps. The link for this page is provided in the description below. You can change your map size according to this with the sliders, as well as how many monuments and caves are available in the generated map list. Scroll through and find one that you like. Click it so you can see a larger version of it and decide if this is what you want. Next, you'll notice that the name of this is Map Generated Procedural Map 3000/500. This number will play a role in the starting of the server. So copy 3000 and remember 500 unless you'd like to copy that as well later on. That is the world size, 3000. The seed is 500. So, if I run the server with this in mind, the map will come up just like this. Next is the server identity. You might as well go ahead and just keep this to World 1 because you're not really going to need to customize this one. Your server description can be whatever you like. This server was inspired by Lady Gaga. Obviously, you're not going to really want to type that, but type anything you want that you believe should be in your server's description. Your server header image is the image that people see when they first click on your server to observe its stats in the Rust server list. You can change server radiation to false if you don't want any radiation on your server. The rest is not important unless you know what you're doing. Go ahead and save this file at the top or press Ctrl S. Now, let's go ahead and run this batch file. First, it's going to install your Rust server. This will take a while, so sit back, relax, find something to distract yourself with until it's finished.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Once it's done installing the server, it will call for the latest version of Oxide on GitHub and install that and override anything necessary that needs to be overridden. Now the server is starting since the latest version of Oxide is on the server. This will generate the map that we put the map size and seed into, as you can see here. This may also take a few minutes. Now the server is generating nav mesh for the NPCs to know where to go. NPCs are the animals, the scientists, zombies if servers have them, anything that isn't an actual player. Once it's finished, you'll notice the server says modded next to the server name at the bottom. This means Oxide is loaded, and you can check it by typing oxide.version. Great. It looks like it's loaded. We did it. Now we need to connect to the server to see if it works. I like to add mine to my favorites list on Steam, so it's easier to connect to later. So go to View, Servers, and choose your Favorites tab at the top. At the bottom right, click Add a Server. Here you'll type in your internal IP for your router, followed by the server port 28015. I've already done this, but go ahead and click Add this address to favorites once you're finished. My server is already in my favorites list. If yours doesn't show up, right-click in the blank space and choose Refresh Server. It should show up by now. Double-click your server to launch the game and connect to the server automatically. Once the game is launched, it will automatically connect to the server, which can take a very long time, at least for the first time. There we go. You are now connected to the server you just created. Feel good about yourself. Now let's check the map to see if it's the same as the one that we pulled from the map list. Okay, looking at some noticeable features here. Let's pull up the map on the browser to see if it's the same. Wow, look at that. Same exact map. We did it. Okay, let's give the server a couple of plugins. Normally I'd tell you to go to oxidemod.org, but they've been transferring everything to a new website called UMod. So go to umod.org. Link is in the description. This is the front page, and you'll see lots of useful and easy to read information on what it is and how to use it right here. You can read more about why this site exists here in this forum post, posted by Wolf. Other than that, let's go to plugins. Right away you'll notice a list of plugins and pages at the bottom. Universal, which is for every game that uses Oxide, Rust, Hurt World, 7 Days to Die, and Reign of Kings. You don't want these three, so please make sure you're installing a plugin that is compatible with Rust or Universal. The easiest way to do this is to just click Rust, and it will filter everything based off of that game. Today we'll be installing two plugins. One is called Smooth Restarter, and the other one, Player List. Smooth Restarter will automatically reboot your server on an interval of however long you want it to. In this case, we'll be doing it every 24 hours at a time that is more accommodable for people on the East Coast of the States. So probably when everyone's sleeping at about 3 or 4 a.m. This plugin is loaded with information right here on the page, including permissions, chat commands, console commands, and the configuration. There are examples, and even a help or support page. Definitely donate to Fujikura if you like the plugins that they create, as this is one of the main plugin developers of Oxide. He's also made quite a few private plugins on chaoscode.io, such as the popular skin box, which allows you to change the skin of any item that has skinnable properties to whatever you want on the server. Back to Smooth Restarter. Go ahead and download this plugin. Next, open up your Rust server folder, navigate through Oxide, and then to plugins. You'll notice the folder is empty by default. This is because you're going to need to install each plugin individually yourself. Drag and drop Smooth Restarter into this folder. You'll notice that your server will automatically compile this and then load it into your server right away. You do not need to restart your server for most plugins, so don't worry about doing that unless absolutely necessary. Go back into your Oxide folder and click Config. You'll notice there's a file that's been automatically generated in here called smoothRestart.json. That's the configuration file for the plugin. It has everything you need in order to control this plugin according to what you like. The way this plugin is designed is to check the current dev blog for Rust and the current Oxide build for Oxide. I don't believe these two features work just yet, but eventually they will, and this will be extremely useful in the future. For now, let's just get this plugin working appropriately. By default, this plugin is set to restart twice a day. Military time at 11:15 and 23:30. It's set to notify you with 45 minutes notice ahead of time, and this one is set for 30 minutes notice ahead of time. We don't want two of them, just one a day every 24 hours, so delete this line as well as the comma at the end of this one. If you leave the comma there, the plugin will not work appropriately. You want to also set use timers to true. Now, military time works for a 24-hour clock. So to have this reset every 3 a.m., that's in the morning, you must write it just like this. Now, I only want to give people on my server a 5-minute notice for this. Now that that's set to true, we can just save this and close it since we're done. Now the server should restart every 3 a.m., and each time it restarts, that batch file we created earlier will check for game updates and Oxide updates. Eventually, Smooth Restart will be able to detect as soon as those updates are available and restart your server accordingly. But for now, a 24-hour restart is all we can do. Another plugin we're going to install today is Player List. Player List is an easy way to see who is on the server and even filter out if there's admins online. This has permissions as well, allowing people to either use the command or not. This plugin has been upkept by Wolf, who I believe runs the entire Oxide/UMod community. So go ahead and give him a nice donate while you're at it. Download this plugin, go to your plugins folder yet again, and drag and drop playerlist.cs into that folder. Again, you'll notice that the server is going to automatically compile and load this plugin by itself. No need to restart. Go to your config folder and choose playerlist. You'll notice it's a very simple plugin, super easy to work with. You'll notice that the admin color, hex format, or name will show the admin name as orange if you type the command to show the player list. And this option will either separate the admins from the player list into their own list or not. Let's set it to true for now. Now, in order for these plugins to work after you've changed the config files for them, you'll have to reload them into your server. This does not mean restart. It's very different, as it's just a command. Type in your console oxide.reload space smooth restart. Now you want to write it like this with the capital S and the capital R, or it will not work. Enter that in and it will unload and load the plugin right back into the server using the new config files. Do the same thing for player list. Remember to use a capital P and a capital L when reloading it. There. Now the plugin should work appropriately. We're going to test it by typing players in chat. You'll see that I'm not allowed to use the players command, and that's where permissions are about to come in. To give yourself permissions to do this, you'll need to go to your console and type oxide grant group default, and then the permission provided on the UMod page, playerlist.allow. Once that's done, it'll give you a confirmation saying that it's been set. Go back into your server and try the command again. There you have it. Players online, Luke and RR Foster. RR Foster is here to give some diversity to the players list. Now, in order to test the Smooth Restart plugin, I'll have to change the time as it's currently 5:52 p.m. in the States. So let's go back to that plugin, just for the sake of testing it, and change the reboot time to something a little closer to our current time. 5 o'clock is 1700, and since it's 5:53, I'm going to change it to 17:55. I'm going to go ahead and reload this plugin just so the new settings that I've saved are ready to go. And in a few minutes, you'll see the server use the Smooth Restart plugin we've just installed. There, the notifications appeared at the top of the server. Server will restart in 5 minutes. Once that 5 minutes is up, the server will restart, checking for updates for both Rust and for Oxide. Thank you all so much for watching, and look forward to a few more tutorials in the future, as I kinda like doing this. Good luck on starting your server. Luke out.